Guru Brahma, Guru Vishnu, Guru Deva, Maheshwara, Guru Sakshat Parabrahman, Tasmai Sri Guru Sadasiva Samarambam, Sankaracharya Madhyamam, Asmadacharya Paryantam, Vande Guru Parampara, Saganavabdhu, Saganapunaktu, Sakaviryam Karavavakai, Tejasvina, Madhitamastu, Vishavake, Om Shanti Shanti. Vasudevendra Yogindram, Nattva Jnana Pradam Gurum, Mokshunam Hidarthaya, Tattva Bodha Abhidiyate. Namaskaram. So we are studying the Tattva Bodha Grantham. We finished the first part of it, which is about the essential qualifications to be a Vedantic Jigyasa or Mumukshu. Then we are getting into the second part, where this is about Atma Vichara. So we have done the last 3 classes with Atma Vichara. Since now we are going to go a little bit more deeper, so I just give you a quick summary of what we have learned so that you can brush up your understanding of it. So the student of us, we asked the question to the Guru for the Parama Purushartham, which is the liberation, total freedom, fulfillment, whatever you want to call it, the ultimate. The answer given was that you must have Ishvara Darshanam, which requires Atma Jnanam. Therefore, we asked the question, Atma Kaha. Literally, Atma means in Sanskrit, the self, I. So we were amused because we know who we are. I am so and so. But why this is an important knowledge to get the moksha? Therefore, we are very curious. And we asked the question to the teacher, Atma Kaha. What is this Atma? Then the teacher gave an answer in 2 ways. First saying what is not Atma, and then giving an instruction of what is Atma. So, Sthula, Sukshma, Karana, Sarirat, Gadiriktaha, then Pancha Koshadi San, Avasthatre Sakshi, Satchidananda Swarupaha. So, he has given here at least 14 words to understand. Sthula, Sukshma, Karana, Sarira. SARIRA-TRIYA. There are 3 to understand. Pancha Kosha. So what are the Pancha Koshas? Avastha-traya. 3 kinds of experiences. So these 3 Sariras, Pancha Koshas, 5 Koshas, and 3 Avastha-trayas together are 11 things. We need to first understand what these are. Then we must know how I am different from this. So this is the way the Vedantic teachers do. When you ask a question, they'll give you something more to expand your mind, thereby creating in you the awareness of your ignorance. So only when you know that you do not know, you will have the motivation to learn. So that's why every time a new word is given for us to go through it. So we took a Sankalpam to go through these 14 words and elaborate on this. So we took the Sthula Sariram. We took the first part, Sthula, Sukshma, Karma Sariram. We've gone through this Sthula part, which is the gross body. We saw what it is made of, and we identified that it is perishable. It is born, it is dead, and someday. And therefore, we are reluctantly agreeing, yes, this body is not me. It belongs to me, it's not me. So the Vediriktaha, we identified more or less. You know, in this session, you may always have some doubts. Don't worry about that. Keep those doubts in place. They will get clarified as we go further. But we are pretty easy on this Sthula Sarira, that it is tangible gross body, it is nourished, it goes through 6 vikaras, asti, then jananam, growth, maturity, decay, death, like that. It goes through it. So therefore, we are more or less agreeing that, okay, I am not the Sthula Sarira. The one important lesson that we should take from this is that if I am not the Sthula Sarira, and death is for the Sthula Sarira, so is birth. So all the birthday we celebrate is not actually a birthday of us. It's a birthday for this body that we acquired. Someone said to me some time back, the in Western world birthday, they blow the candle off, it's like a mangalam. Maybe there is an insight to this, because is the year gone. For this, they have to wake up. Like Mahapariva says, calendar is like the columns, the time just removes this daily sheet. No, I'm just making a point. In every learning, you must have something to benefit. The benefit that knowing that you are not the gross body is that when it dies, when it decays, you don't worry. When it dies, you don't die. So it takes away the biggest burden in our heart. Someday I will die. I'm worried about it. So that worry has to be just taken off, because this body will die. I'm not going to die. So what happens to me, we will see once we know who we are. So the lesson is therefore, but Sthula Sarira means Bhoga Ayadanam. It is the house for enjoyment. Therefore, you must maintain it. When it is getting sickness, you must nourish it. But you don't worry about it. So we've gone through that one. Then we talk about the Sukshma Sarira. So we said the Sukshma Sarira is that which animates this gross body. Figuratively, we assume that it is inside our gross body, but later you will see it may not be inside, maybe outside. So we'll see it. And then we saw in this number of elements into this. So the Sukshma Sarira become 17 different parts, which the teacher told us. Pancha Jnanendriyas, 5 senses of organs of senses, sense organs, 5 Karmendriyas, then Pancha Pranas, then 2 Manas and Buddhi. So we've gone through that. The student did not ask the question, or maybe the text is missing about the prana. Then we've gone through this Pancha Prana as well. Prana, Apana, Dhyana, Samana, Udana. And then we also extended the 2 aspects of the mind and Buddhi, into mind and Chittam, and Buddhi and Ahankara. We took the liberty, because many scholars have done that. Mind, what is given as one set, we split into 2. The bhumi in which the thoughts emerge as a weeds is the manas, chitta vritti. Wherever the thought comes in, that is mind. In the thoughts, when they are deep and intense, they become memory. Everything you see, you don't remember, because you don't consider them important to you. So when you put a will to it, when you want to forget something, you will not forget. When you want to remember something, you will remember that. So those things goes into a box of memory records. That's chitta. So we split into 2 because they are important to understand the next question, Avastha-traya. So we keep it to 2. Same way, Buddhi we split into 2. Buddhi is that one which is the finest part of the mind, which does not doubt but determines. It decides, like, should I go to the class or not? That thought comes in the mind. You will go to the class. That's the Buddhi. The Ahankara we added, because Ahankara is the part which takes ownership of it. That I am this body, I am this person, I am so and so, I do this, I write this book, I told you. Kind of a Ahankara that comes in there. This is again important for us to split to go to the next part of it. So far, we have seen this. Now we go to the next part of it. Now, what is happening to this body, subtle body, and the gross body? What is that? How that is they are together? What binds them together? It is bound by prana. The prana, that is, you've already gone through what the prana is. Now we are not looking at the 5 different splits. We just talk about the whole energy of life, the prana. Imagine it as a rope. This rope is tying up your sthula sarira with your sukma sarira. Now I will call you for a lot of imagination, because that's where you better got a better understanding of it. So the prana is tying up. In Yoga Sastra, the prana is raised as a kundalini and so on and so forth. But in Vedanta, we just stick with what we need to know. So now there is an answer. If there are 2 different bodies, for them to be together, there must be a binding reason for it. The reason is this prana. How long this prana is binding? The prana is binding only for the lifetime. It's a cheeky answer, because when somebody is dead, the body is something happened to the gross body, it is inanimated, which means the rope has been untied. So how can I use the same thing as a definition for it? The definition comes by the subsequent words. The lifetime is defined by the allocated prarabdha karma. Again, another word. So if you are taking notes, you must just write down all the words, because the words will be keep on building it and refining it. We are going to talk about the karma at the end of this grantha, but for this time, prarabdha karma is the karma which is allocated for this birth. So whatever you do is accumulated, and you need to expend that effect of it. And the effect could be so gruesome, so you just cannot do it. For the sin I have committed, any birth I take, I may have to undergo tremendous pain, because I've done so much of sin. But if I go through everything in one go, and God made me do that, He's not very merciful, is He? Because if He's making me suffer so much, and He's not teaching me how to recover from this. So He therefore says, look, okay, you've done some mistake. The rule is the rule. You got to go and suffer this mistake. Or you did some good thing as well. Rule is the rule. Go and enjoy it. But you can't enjoy it, everything, get punished for everything else. Therefore, I will allocate this much for you and go and enjoy it. Like a pocket money. This is what given to you. How this is all happening, we will see. But assume right now, there is this karma balatatta, the God is there. He knows all your depository of karmas. You take a spoon of it, maybe 5 spoons in my case, go down, endure it. So that is a time defined. The time is not defined by 74 years, the age in your jadakam. Because the years is what we compute in the man. Because we computed, we had 10 months before and 12 months later, 300 days before, 342 days, 365 days. Who never knows, we may make 500 days a year in the future. So the Ayush is not by the days that we see, but by the pranas. That's why the corollary is, therefore, if I expend less prana, I may live longer. Even then there's a limit to it, because its upper ceiling is done. But you may expand, instead of spending your energy, high blood pressure, angry all the time, krodham, every time gasping for breath, no exercise, body is poor, you breathe so fast and you pass away. That's why a tortoise breathes very slow, lives for 200 years. Elephant has got a very slow breathing, 120 years. The dog breathes so fast, and 7 to 8 years or 17 years max, they say. That's why in Yoga Sastra, they ask you to control your breathing. But that's a different subject. So the question therefore is, I now know the answer, why my sthula body is connected to my sukshma body through the prana. So what happens when it unbinds? Now this is not needed now for this understanding of Tattva Bodha, but I am giving you some introduction so that when you go to the next chapter, next section, you are in a better position. So when it unbinds, the prana is gone. We say, when somebody is dead, the prana is gone. So what happened? The animated light of this body is gone. You become a gross body. It's called predam. So the body is generally called predam. And it is even before in the womb, it's called a predam. When the life comes in, it becomes a jiva. You're going to find out what a jiva is. So when the prana is gone, the sthula sariram is just a gross matter, as it is always. So it means the prarabdha karma has ended. This is true for everyone. I remember this beautiful saying. One of the bhikshu was going around and not eating, and he was wandering around and asked the question, well, how come? What gives you the courage that you don't have any food to, you don't earn anything? How do you survive? And his answer is, because this body will stay until the prarabdha karma. So if my prarabdha karma is for 30 years more, even if I don't try for food, the food will come to me. Okay, so now we are not interested in the gross body because we know we are different from this. The sukshma body is something which is very mystical. Maybe it is what I am. Therefore, we are very keen to know what happens to the sukshma body. So what happens is the sukshma body, when it is untied from this gross body, it goes and searches for another gross body. Why? Because once this gross body is gone, the prarabdha karma is finished. The rest of my karmas, what is unspent, is called sanchita karma, comes into action. Therefore, depending on the sankalpa of this subtle body, it needs to have another gross body. So it goes in search of somewhere. We call it, they travel across the Pitraloka. There are so many ways the Puranas picturize this, but we are only sticking to the Vedantic aspect of it. So what we wanted to understand here is that my subtle body is therefore is a better fit for me. So I am not a gross body. I may be my subtle body because I have to think. Therefore, I don't die. So when this body is, gross body is left behind, I am in travel. So my shape is something like this, a linga sarira. Don't know the shape, but it's got some part to it. Therefore, it is given a linga. An egg, normally they say it. It is going there. See, when in this class, please also admit another student who I call it the Virata Purusha. Because we are asking, because we are being created by God, we are asking, who am I? How am I to liberate it? So I am an individual coming to the class. If I come with my family, sit in the class, my family is in the class. For example, Balaji's family in this class, like that. If the community comes in, the community represents the class. Imagine the whole universe comes in. Universe is also a body, the gross body there. If you take all these live beings together, it's an organic being, a universal being. It's called Virata Purushaka. Virata Purushaka is the gross body of the whole cosmos. The Shurupa Darshana, what we are learning now is going to be about the Virata Purushaka, the gross body of the whole thing. That means the Virata Purusha also has got, he has to give up the body. There must be a binding knot there. And what is Sukshma for the Virata Purusha? It's called Hiranyagarbha. It's just sideline. So what I'm saying is, when you're going to say finally, we're going to say Atma is going to be Paramatma. That means the Atma Jnanam that we are learning about ourselves is as good as learning about the whole world. Therefore, every question that we understand and contemplate, you do two things. Contemplate on yourself. I am this person, I am not two. I'm talking about myself. I'm asking about Atma. So this answer, how does it affect me? You also think about the whole world. The whole world is one being. How does this answer come? Because if it doesn't match in one end or the other, it's not a good science. Is it not? A perfect truth should be truthful to the microcosmic level, microcosmic level, macrocosmic level. Just sideline there. Okay, the Sukshma body is what we are going to understand. This is in a perpetual search for embodiment. That's what is called it, Jiva. But it is not a fine definition. It is a starting step. So we're going to refine it. So we don't definitely not the gross body. Now let's talk about subtle body. What happened? So I'm going to take an example here. Upamana. In Vedanta, it is allowed. Pramanas are, it's a Pratyaksha Pramana, Anumana Pramana, Veda Pramana. But there are few other Pramanas. Upamana Pramana is one, which the Nyaya school and Mimamsa and Advaita Vedanta accepts. The Yoga, Sankhyas, Vaisheshikas, and Dvaitis, and to a certain extent Ramanujars, they don't accept. They consider this as part of the other faculty of Pramana. That's the difference. But I think we need to have Upamana because this is so subtle. Therefore, Upamanas are very important. So you'll have 5 or 6 Upamanas, examples in the Vedanta will keep on coming. You must really handle it with respect, and they are going to impart you some knowledge. So let's take the example of the bucket. Some murky water there. I was trying to look for a clay pot to be authentic to the example, but I couldn't find it. No mind. So now the Upamana is, take this pot or the bucket as a Sthula Sarira, made out of metal or minerals or clay, whatever this is made of. That's a gross body. It provides a shape. It provides an embodiment. It is inert. Imagine it contains something. So it contains generally an empty space. I will take that example some other time, and when we go my final thought. But let's say it contains some water. That's a Sukshma Sarira, because it is more subtler than that and the gross body. And we take this water as the example of the mind. It is oscillating, wavery, murky. But when a thing is finer in texture, it attains a quality for reflection. I can't see my face on a hard rock, but when it's polished, I can see, because the surface is very fine. On a water, I can see. The more subtle the substance is, more reflective it becomes. Air becomes echoing. Water becomes reflective. Finely graved mirror, polished mirror will reflect much better. So when the mind becomes pure, it becomes much better. It is able to reflect the sunlight that is somewhere else. So you take the Sukshma Sariram. If you don't have the Sukshma Sariram, if the bucket is empty, the sun will not be reflected in the bucket. It won't be animated. Therefore, we need the Sukshma Sariram to reflect the sunlight. Just as 5-minute side digression, because reflection is what we see. The source we never see. Light that you see is always a reflection. If I see this computer is an object on which the light is coming out. The light is reflected back. The reflected lights carry information. Light is a beacon, is a carrier. Light you cannot see. When it has got something on its path and it reflects, because it touches the object, it takes away all the object's attributes as information and carry in the photons. The processing unit, in our case my eye, your eye, and millions of rods and cones are there. They take these photons, they take the cells. So the computer does not exist here, it exists in my mind. The shape, size, everything is computed in my mind. The light is off and the whole room is completely blocked. I can't see this. Okay, I can touch and feel the computer. That's why the actual lakshana for eyes is not rupa. Rupa is varna, color. You can even touch, a blind man can see an elephant and say it's an elephant. Find a way of doing it. Therefore, the correct grammar lakshana for eyes is to see the light, to see the color. If you go to the space, for example, sun is there, right? So you'll expect when you go out of this earth, it should be all bright, super bright. No, it will be pitch dark. What happened to all the stars and suns? Yes, if you look at the star, you will see the light. See, there are two things. An object that has got effulgence, lighting object. Other thing is an illumined object, an object that has no effulgence but is illuminated. Everything in the world, including you and I, are illuminated objects. Luckily, we have a quality to reflect back, but we don't have the light in ourselves. Everything in the world is illuminated object. Sun is, for the example, you can stay there to sun as the upper limit. Sun is a illuminating light source. In the atmosphere, once you cross the atmosphere, there's nothing there to reflect. There's no object there. But if a fly goes in or a UFO goes in, you will see the UFO very clearly in a dark background. You'll see the UFO flying because it reflects the sunlight. The UFO is gone, and if you turn a face away from sun, you see nothing, pitch dark. It's very important insight in this. You can do an example also in a room. When you close everything dark, you put a laser light. You do a GCSE physics, you would have done it. You put a laser light, put on a mirror. The mirror hits the light hits the mirror and reflects on the wall. You can see two dots, one on the mirror, a dot. You see another dot in the ceiling. Because mirror is an object reflects, ceiling is an object reflects. But the light is traveling from my laser light to the mirror, and mirror to the wall, you don't see. But if I now take a air spray or a water spray and spray in the air, you'll see the laser light. Because you have object to reflect. So you don't see the light. I want you to remember this, because when we say in Vedanta says your Chaitanyam is, you can't see it, but it illuminates. Eye of the eye is a seer of the sea. You can't see the seer. This is it. You only see what is being reflected. Therefore, to see the God's presence also in your presence, you need a reflected media. That's why gross body is Bhoga Ayadanam. So don't discard your body as it's cheap stuff. You don't worry for it decay, but you maintain it. So this, I'm now going to take this to Vedanta, this example. Imagine the sun, or billions of sun of Chaitanyam is somewhere inside you. Because obviously you are animated, you are knowledgeable, you are aware. It's effulgence. We already discarded the gross body has no effulgence. We are now going to discard Sukshma Sariram has no effulgence. Therefore, you have to assume first that there is a luster of shine in you. It's called Chit Atma. In Sanskrit Sandhi, Chit and Atma becomes Chidatma. The T becomes softer. So Chidatma is inside you. If only you can know it, definitely you can say that is me. I do not know it yet. What happened? The reflected light, the fish can see the reflected light in the water. It gets agitated. The water vaporizes. Movement is there. Or if I imagine a mirror, the mirror is able to reflect the light somewhere else. This is basically mimicking the sun itself. A child who doesn't understand the sun, he will think the bucket is shining. It's called abhasha. Abhasha in Tamil, abhasha means a different meaning. In Sanskrit, it means simulating, alike, same like. You can say chit, chaya. Shankara used the word chaya. So chit atma is the original light. Chit abhasha is a reflected light. Therefore, the sukshma sarira, which is like a water in this body, or as a piece of glass, so fine, reflects the Chaitanya, the consciousness. The first lesson, therefore, is if you want the reflection to be as perfect as possible, what do you have to do? You have to make your Sukshma Sarira, which is basically the mind, to be absolutely pure. Now, two more words I'm going to give you for you to keep in your mind. This reflection is not possible without the sunlight. Therefore, the sunlight is the basis. It's called Adhishtanam. But if you do not see the Adhishtanam, but if you believe the bucket has got the light by itself, it's called Adhyasam. So the two words, Adhishtanam is the substratum, the basis. Adhyasam is on which it is superimposed. What is the example should come to your mind? The rope, snake. Somebody sees the snake on the rope, they get frightened, they bring the light, they see, oh, it's a rope. So for the brief moment of Pradibhasikam, you see the snake as an adhyasam superimposed on the adhishtanam, the rope. If I now define the snake, oh, that snake is coiled up, it is 10 centimeters thick, it is ferocious, its head is up. I'm thinking I am describing the snake. I'm not actually describing the rope. So this Chidabhasam, if a mind thinks, I am the knowledgeable one, because my mind thinks everything, I am learning and understanding everything, because it is me I'm doing, you have an ignorance. So the ignorance gives you ahankara. Ahankara is not arrogance, not that way. Ahankara is the wrong thinking that I am the Chaitanya Rupa. So the Chidabhasam is what is called Jiva when it is propelled by the Adhisthana. Understand? Therefore, the Shukshma Rupam, subtle body, upon death, goes away. Now, there is an important insight again. If somebody understands all this and they discard the gross body as just an instrument while alive, when they are dead, they won't really crave for this body. So they are already enlightened one. Therefore, their path, they say, is towards the north, showing that looking upwards for a better body, better embodiment. But those who do not understand all this, live in this world as real, and have so much of desire on this body, and feel so distressed about this body's decay, have got a different rebirth. Second, another part. I just said this, keep this in mind, keep your questions on your mind. But the important point here is there is an inherent ignorance. Why am I not knowing this? This example is so simple. Why should I believe the bucket is got light? I can see the sun is there. But when you come to yourself, you're not able to look at it. And if I'm made that way, why is this inherent ignorance? So triggered by this, the student is asking the question to the teacher, what causes the Sukshma Sariram? When does it begin? How does it end? If it's a purposelist looking for it, then there is no moksha, there's no liberation. I can improve it, keep on looking for a better body, be a Gandharva, Narada, Brahma, go into Satyaloka, but I'm still a being. The answer is that it is also trapped in another body called Karana Sarira. So we can say a couple of answers to this Sukshma Sarira. First, it is Anadi. That means, unlike the gross body, it is not conceived in the womb and then dead in the on the ground someday. It is conceived sometime indefinable. Therefore, it's Anadi. It can be removed, probably removing by the underlying cause of it. So what is the cause of it? I need to remove it because my goal is to find out what it is and say, I am not this. Is it not? Therefore, I need to find out how it ends. The last question, how does it get sentiency? Sentiency means, it's not consciousness. It is basically be sensible. Your senses react to senses. It comes by the reflected light. So the grace of Atma, the mind gets the ability to think. Therefore, we now leave this subtle body with three understanding. It is also inert. We do not know when it was born. It may end if we know the reason why it exists. That's the reason why, for this knowledge, we need to go for Atma Vidya or Brahma Vidya. This knowledge cannot come from theoretical physics or classical physics or any such subjects. It has to be an Atma Vidya. So the student is asking the question, Karana Sariram Kim. What is this Karana Sariram? Anirvachya Anadi Avidya Rupam Sarira Dvasya Karana Matram Satsvarupa Ajnanam Nirvikalpaka Rupam Yadasti Tat Karana Sariram. Let me just warn you here, because you're not going to get a completely crystal clear answer now, but you get the right answer, because the right answer is the cause is not crystal clear. Therefore, you get the right answer. Why it is not crystal clear, we will know later. But right now, we are going to venture into this understanding what causes this Sukshma Sariram. So, I am going to take word by word. Again, I think there are too many words in this. Let's see what the teacher is saying. First of all, imagine this Karana Sariram, like the prana binds the Sukshma and the Stula Sarira, the Karana Sarira binds the Sukshma Sarira. So there is another key you need to unlock it. Because you already know to unlock the death is the prana. You can extend your life by the prana in this body. And when you give up, you will not worry, because you can always go and open up another prana binding, the new deha. But when you want to release from this Sukshma body, it is the key for unlocking the causal body which binds it. So therefore, that's what we are trying to probe now. First one is Sarira Dvayasya Karana Matram. He gives a very simple, direct answer. Okay, you wanted to know what is this Karana Sariram? I'll tell you. It is the cause for the two bodies. What are the two bodies? The gross body and the subtle body. It's a tricky answer, right? Because we know that's what we heard before, but there is a purpose behind it. So even though we saw the gross body is decided by the subtle body, here it says even for the gross body, the causal body is the reason. You have to understand, like the reason for me is my father and mother, of course. But my father's reason is my grandfather. Therefore, my reason is my grandfather. Right? You can take that example. So it's very simple. So, of course, the gross body came from the subtle body, but both come from the causal body. Karana matram. You can say this karanam. This is karana matram. Only that. There is no other reason you will have embodiments. Therefore, if you want to be disembodied and to be eternally free, the answer is therefore very clear. The karana matram should be nasti. The causal body should be destroyed. Don't imagine to be a body like this. We just say sariram, but it is bijam, like like a seed. So that's the first one. So we understand the first phrase, sarira-dvayasya karana matram. Next, I would like to talk about second word, nirvikalpa rupam. Rupa means the form, attributes. Nirvikalpam. Vikalpam means differences. So I can see this computer at the table because it has got a screen, it has got a keyboard, it's got a leg. I can see you, you got a face, eyes. All these are vikalpams. So if you don't have vikalpams, when you get old, when you cross 45, 50, you suddenly see, it's all blurred up. I'm not able to see very clearly because vikalpam is reducing it. The less the vikalpam is, more difficult it is to precise it. Imagine that there's no vikalpam at all, no avayam at all, no parts at all. And that is nirvikalpa rupa. Here it is said, the causal body is nirvikalpa rupa. See, the gross body is a tangible thought. You can see it. Subtle body is also subtle, but you can experience it, you can infer it. You will see how when you go to Panchikarma. The causal body is nirvikalpam. Nirvikalpaka rupam. It cannot be really understood. There's no difference. We are going to talk about sleep all the time in this Vedanta class, and it's going to be a primary focus next class, and then maybe next. Sleep is one example of where we are in our causal body. When you're in deep sleep, your Sukshma Sariram is gone, your Sthula Sariram is gone. I mean that they are unlocked, let you free for a while. See, God has taken a lot of compassion on us because He has sent you to the world to embody and experience it. For His first kindness, He has given you only a portion of Prarabdha Karma. Just enjoy it and come back. Therefore, when somebody dies young, it's not a pity on them because God wants to come back and experience something else so that He's on a path to liberation. But then also He says, when you are like the whole, the student next to you, the Samashti Purusha is asking the teacher, what happened to my death? Yes, you will also die. The whole universe will die. It's called Mahapralayam. We saw in the Bhagavad Gita class last time, Sarva Bhudani Kaunteya, Prakriti Yanti Mamikam, Kalpakshaye Punastani, Kalpado Sujamyam. Everything when the world ends, come to me. So the world also ends. It's called Mahapralayam. Vishnu Puranam talks about multiple pralayams, Naimitika pralayam and so on and so forth. But you just take a pralayam is where everything goes into the abhyaktam. God also gives you a pralayam every day. It's called nitya pralayam, sleep. In the nitya pralayam, your gross body is gone to abhyaktam. Your subtle body is an abhyaktam, that means unmanifest for you. You are in the causal body. But I can't see anything because there's nothing to see. There's no rupam, nirvikalpam. Something you understand, something you don't understand. Don't worry, just keep it there. Now, if that is the case, if it is cannot be having a form, I can't describe this anirvachya. Anirvachya means, nirvachya means definitely explaining this is it, or this is how it is. The yellow house with the poster with the olive tree outside, that's my house. If I vikalpam, well defined nirvachya, I can tell you that. But when I have no vikalpam, I cannot define it. Anirvachya. Therefore, causal body, you go to any books, dictionary, anywhere you see definition, it will come back to same thing. Inapplicable, anirvachya. So there are also other reasons I would say. One is a nirvikalpakam, therefore it is anirvachyam. Another reason we will understand later. The causal body is also mithya. What is mithya? Do you remember? Mithya definition you should not forget, because a viparita jnanam will make you suspect the Advaitic knowledge. Mithya is not illusion. Mithya is that which will give you experience but does not have an independent existence by itself. It's no swatantra. The rope on the snake on the rope gives an experience of fear when you are believing that, but it has no independent existence. It is sitting on the rope. Same way, the sages say the every world things that you see is like that. It is not seen when you are in the Vyavaharika world. When you are afraid of the snake, you are not understanding it. When you come out of this mode, you are understanding it. When you are in a dream, you are experiencing different things. When you come out of the dream, you understand differently. So therefore, it also gives you two insights. Causal body is nirvikalpakam, therefore you cannot explain. Mithya, that gives a hope. If it is mithya, we know we are not mithya. We want to pass mithya. Bhagavan says that this is maya, but nobody can pierce the maya. But if you surrender to him, he can take you out of the maya. Therefore, if causal body is mithya, there is hope there. Next definition is anadi. Adi means beginning, anadi means beginningless. Okay, that's clear. We already said that nobody knows when it started. But I also give you some insight, because it means there are two things. In anything, you got a time dimension and a space dimension. If you know physics, time is another side of the space. So if you space, time are co-joined. Now, anadi means it has no time and no spaces. No space is very easy to prove, because we saw it nirvikalpakam. Nirvikalpakam means it has no parts. There's no parts. Where can you say, how is distance? When you say, what is the distance? You will say, from where? So from my house. And ask the question, to where? To the station. But you need 2 points. This is the distance. The vikalpam has to be there. There is no vikalpam, there is no space. That's why in a deep sleep you have no world at all. Space is gone. See, I told you before, space that is making everything is gross in nature, panchikarna thing. When you are in a sleep, the gross is gone. There is no space. What about time? In sleep, there's no time. You may say, no, I know I go to sleep at 10 o'clock, get up at 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock every morning. I sleep 8 hours a day. I know my sleeping time. But you don't. You go to sleep at 10 o'clock, you lie on the bed, you read the book, sometime you sleep, sometime you get up. Once you get up, you look at the clock, it's 7 o'clock. My God, I have slept more than I need to sleep. You take the clock as an evidence of your sleeping time. You actually do not know during the sleep. When I say sleep, it is basically when you are the causal body, you do not have the time. Why? Because time is, again, what is the time is okay. From this class, start 10 o'clock and finish at 11 o'clock. So there is end, start, end events for an experience. So like a space is a difference in location, time is a difference in experience. That's why when you watch a movie or when you read a book, time flies. Because you are not even moving from the experience. You read that book in Sundargandam, if you read, for example, Anjaneya's conversation, you read it and you're just thinking, time has gone up. You forgot to go to the gym. What happened? Your experience has not moved. In deep sleep, there's no experience. To write the time, you need thought. Thought comes in mind. Therefore, if you know exactly what time you go to bed and what time you get up, the mind has to write it down. But mind is not there. The deep sleep. What about the body clock? Body clock makes you sleep. The body clock is a very gross in nature. It's called a pineal gland, which is there in the body. It is if you look at that, it is in the middle of your cranium. If you take the brain, the two hemisphere, the center of the face. If you take a epicenter of this one, is where the little pineal gland, Sagasadana chakra, they call it yoga. So that creates called melatonin. That is what makes the body clock works. Called a circadian rhythm, but they are all effect, not the cause. What makes it work? Because the pineal gland is a gross inert matter. Where does the energy come from? What is the light that makes it happen? We do not know. Therefore, it is timeless, spaceless, anadi. Therefore, it is avidya rupa. Avidya means, see, avidya is not ignorance. Ignorance is not knowing something. Avidya means not knowing something as well as wrongly knowing something. Viparita jnanam also avidya. Yeah. So Shankara defines avidya as any vidya that hides your true nature. So if I do a PhD in astrophysics and get a great knowledge about everything else, thereby I just do not know that who I am. That knowledge I collected in Cambridge, and Harvard, and MITs is an avidya in that perspective. That's why it is called avidya rupam. It's all this prakriti is avidya rupam. So don't assume that it is unknowable, unknown. It is known differently, but hiding the true nature of yourself. Remember this word hiding because we will see who is hiding it when we go into the deeper part of the text. But in particular, what avidya? Last word, Sat Swarupa Ajnanam. Why is this, ignorance is there? I mean, if God has made all these things and this is the truth of it, why it is evident in everybody? It is not. You can go and ask 99.9% of the people in the world. They will have the same opinion about themselves. They are the body. They worry about life, death. Nobody is holding to the thought that I am deathless, I am this jnanam, I am Atma. The Sat Swarupam is not there at all. So your fellow student also, the Virata Purusha also says the same thing. Yes, I am the whole universe. I go through seasons. I go through the Srishti, Sthiti, Samhara, everything. I suffer. I have droughts 1 year. I have COVID sometime, malaria, black death, all that happening. I don't know because it also does not know beyond the Hiranyagarbha and Prajna is a Ishvara. But the whole world is a collection of all of us. Therefore, see, somebody said very beautifully, if you want to change the world, it's a very futile attempt. You can't waste your time just going to change the world. Everybody change the world. That's why the world is like this today. But you change yourself. Change should be in you. Because after all, the world is our collection. So we tell the student that don't worry, that I'll change myself. Everything will change. But therefore, the Sat Swarupa Ajnanam, here the answer comes in. Why we do not know? Because that is the very nature of the causal body. Prakriti, this is, if you ask another question, okay, you're not answering me, you're in the state of it. The question is why it is. It's going to be a very famous answer. It's a Maya of the Ishvara. So you can see the ignorance that creates the subtle body. Subtle body gets the light of the Chaitanyam, and therefore it becomes Ahankaram. It forgets the Chaitanyam. It takes ownership. The moment you take ownership, God says, okay, thank you so much. It's all yours. Then everything you do is yours. You have to experience it, take body, keep on doing it forever. And if I am stubborn and I don't go to Vedanta class, I just keep on doing what I want to do, you will happily live because you are God's child. When the world is coming to Mahapralayam, it's not liberation. Remember, it's like a sleep. No, I mean, if I am a very bad person and I hurt everybody else, when I go to sleep, I'm like a pussycat. I'm like a beautiful person. Everybody say, "Oh, look, this guy is so nice. He's sleeping." But when I get up, I'm going to be my same person. Even tapasvis, Ravana does tapas for many, many years. Shiva Bhakta, meditative, therapeutic. When the tapas finish, he asks for something silly and becomes very mad. So all these yoga nidras, samadhis, many years of living in Swarga. Indra, what he does, he lives in Swarga, but he's worried about his job. When anybody is getting so pious and pure, he goes and sends his dancers and destruct them. So therefore, the Swarupa Jnanam is there as long as you hold on to your responsibility. That's why Ahankara is very important to give away. But to give away Ahankara, you must know Avidya and Avidya to be removed. So I'll finish now with this summary. So we have finished the first equation. Atma is Atma plus Anatma. We all agreed. It's a kind of a mixed bowl. And we took the second step. We split the Anatma into Sarira, Panchakosha, Avasthatraya. Then we took the Sarira into three parts. Sthula, Sukshma, Karana, Sarira. Then we looked at the three Sariras. And we've gone through what is Sthula Sarira. We will nurture it, maintain it, make it pure, but don't worry about it. That's it. Death is not to be mourned of. That is a transformation enough. So, but we need to prepare our Sukshma Sarira. Sukshma Sarira is mind in general. It is an important vehicle for us to even to change the Karana Sarira because, as I told you, even the Chaitanya needs a reflecting object. Therefore, the Sukshma Sarira is a reflecting object. If you want liberation, you can't kill Sukshma Sarira and kill Karana Sarira. No. Once the Sukshma Sarira is killed, it's impossible because you need to kill the Karana Sarira. Therefore, what is to be prevailing is the Sukshma Sarira. Your mind is important. Therefore, mind has to be used on two ways. From the Laukika part, where it is a sadhana for looking outside and collect garbage. So we transact it but make it purer, and then slowly turn it inwards to look for the Karana Sarira, destroy the Karana Sarira, and to go forward. To do that, we need to have a couple of more tricks. We may have to look at the Sarira into not this kind of a vertical part. We need to go horizontally layers in Panchakosa, so that we can get a better slice of it. And also the Avastha-traya, we should look at it. So this is what I just now told you. Therefore, Karna Sarira is not the body. It's like a seed of a banyan tree. The banyan trees has got so many branches, so many leaves. These are the Vikalpams. All the Vikalpams are all in the seed in unmanifest Nirvikalpam as a DNA imprint, unknowable. Like that, we have for all our things, everything that's happened to you, you suddenly find a good person, your life changes. It's because one of your good karma is manifesting on them. You have somebody coming to you and irritating you and you have a trouble. Don't blame the person. It is your vasana that is emanating and coming in. You're going through the experience of it. I'm not saying it is fate, therefore you accept it. You deal with this, but don't take the ownership. Give the ownership to somebody else. You take ownership. It is because of me. Therefore, to change, to avoid a bad experience in life, I need to change my bad karmas. They are going to the karma sariras to store it. Therefore, I don't deal with the storehouse. I need to deal with the passage which transacts the storehouse. That is Sukshma Sarira. But we talk about the mind more and more in the next sessions. Therefore, by this, I would finish the SARIRA-TRIYA. For whatever reason, the student is not asking the next question on Panchakosha. He's asking about Avastha-traya. I mean, there's a logic in it. I do not know. Therefore, we follow the flow. We talk about the Avastha-traya. It's more interesting, more subtle, more fine. So please do contemplate and keep all your questions in your mind with Shraddha, so we'll get it resolved as we go. Thank you so much.
Right.
Om Shanti.
Thank you, Raja. Now, Natuji, are you ready with your?
Yeah.
Thank you.
Om Asato Ma Sadgamaya.
Om Asato Ma Sadgamaya.
Tamaso Ma Jyotirgamaya.
Tamaso Ma Jyotirgamaya.
Mrityorma Amardangamaya.
Mrityoma Amritangamaya.
Om Shanti Shanti Shanti.